This week's Parshat Behar, begins with a most unusual pasuk. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, Behar Sinai lemor. God spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu. Where did he speak to Moshe Rabbeinu? He spoke to him, Behar Sinai. Why mention the location? Every other time that Hashem speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moshe. But here we're told where it happened. Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, and the parasha is called after this word, Parshat Behar, because Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, Behar Sinai lemor. God spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai, and then the Torah then goes to teach us the laws of Shemitah. Sheshet shanim yavod, you work for 6 years, and then on the 7th year the land remains fallow. This year is Shnat HaShemitah. So why specifically mention Har Sinai on this week, at the beginning of this week's parasha? And the Midrash, quoted by Rashi, asks the famous question, Ma inyan Shemitah etzel Har Sinai? What's the connection? When I'm teaching the laws of Shemitah, why mention specifically that this teaching was taught on Mount Sinai? Everywhere else, when we learn the laws of Kashrut, when we learn the laws of Shabbat, when we learn the laws of the Korbanot, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. God spoke to Moshe saying. Here, we're told specifically on the laws of Shemitah, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe, God spoke to Moshe, Behar Sinai lemor. God spoke to him specifically on Mount Sinai. What's the connection between Shemitah and Har Sinai? And Rashi gives an answer, and he says that it's important to link the mitzvot to Mount Sinai. The laws of Shemitah with which we open this week's parasha are explained in all of their details. It's not just reference to the laws of Shemitah, but we go through all the laws of Shemitah. And Rashi explains, just like all of the laws of Shemitah were taught in this week's parasha, so on Mount Sinai, so too all of the Torah was taught on Mount Sinai, linking Har Sinai not just to the details of the laws of Shemitah, but to the details of every single mitzvah. So, by starting the parasha with Har Sinai, we link Mount Sinai with all of the mitzvot. Shemitah is the example with which we learn a general principle for the whole Torah. But why use Shemitah to teach this idea? Why dafka Shemitah? Why is it that the one law that teaches us the principle that all of the details appeared were taught to us on Mount Sinai? Why use the laws of Shemitah with which to teach us that principle? And to understand that question, what's the specific link between Har Sinai and Shemitah? For that, let me share with you a beautiful idea from the Shem Shmuel. Rav Shmuel born Shina Sokachov, and this is what he says. He says, what is Mount Sinai? What does Mount Sinai represent? And he says that, a mountain, you have the ground, and then you have a mountain, and then you have the heavens, you have the sky. He said the mountain, Mount Sinai, represents in a very real way the spot where heaven and earth met. Where on Matan Torah, as we'll see in a few weeks' time on Chag HaShavuot, heaven and earth, the Torah, God gave us a Torah, heaven and earth met. Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, is the meeting point of the spiritual and the physical, of earth and heaven, Shamayim Va'aretz. For that moment of Matan Torah, it was where the two met one another, where there was a meeting point between Kedusha, Hashem, and the physical world. That meeting point, represented by Mount Sinai in the physical dimension, is represented by Shemitah, not in the dimension of space, but in the dimension of time. For 6 years of the calendar, we work the land, we're productive, we create, and then 1 year out of 7, the land remains fallow. If you drive today from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv, you'll see big signs on fields saying, Ani Shomer Shemitah. And you see these fields that have been left fallow for this year, for Shnat HaShemitah. Why? Because 1 year and 7 things are different. It's Shnat HaShemitah. There's something, it's a meeting point, there's something holy, something different going on in Shnat HaShemitah as opposed to every other year. The meeting point in the dimension of time between heaven and earth is Shnat HaShemitah. So you have the meeting of heaven and earth on Mount Sinai in the dimension of space, and you have the meeting of heaven and earth in the dimension of time through Shnat HaShemitah. If there's one thing that Torah teaches us is to bring heaven and earth together. The third aspect, if we have the dimension of time, which is Shemitah, and we have the dimension of space, which is Har Sinai, the third dimension is us, the Jewish people, with the mitzvot that we perform. We bring heaven and earth together, not in the dimension of space or the dimension of time, but in something much more all-encompassing, in the lives that we lead, in the things that we do, in the mitzvot that we perform, by teaching us that Shemitah and Har Sinai are intrinsically linked with one another. What the Midrash is sharing with us is that the physical and the spiritual must always come together. And the message, the power, the idea for all of us is that if I'm just living a life of spirituality unconnected to the world around me, then I'm missing out on something. And if likewise I'm living purely in the material world around me without thinking about the bigger picture, there's also something missing. The fusion of heaven and earth, as represented by Shnat HaShemitah, and also represented by Har Sinai, is something that we each live inside ourselves, in the lives that we lead and the things that we do, and the mitzvot that we are able to perform. My blessing for all of us this week, Parshat Behar, is that we should be blessed to do it. Be blessed to bring the two together, and we should all be blessed with a Shabbat Shalom Vorach. Thank you.